Are we live?
We're live.
We're live. All right, everybody turn your hats around. Pay attention.
I have one raised eyebrow. At least I'm attempting to raise it.
Give us a smile. The people want a smile. The maniacal pastor.
Yeah, it's like, I can't do it. Man, I'd make a lousy Kamala. She has a beautiful smile.
We're not going there.
My smile is like Mr. Sardonicus or something.
You get the Mr. Sardonicus.
Oh, you don't know about the sardonic smile? Oh, man,
you
got to look it up.
I have heard you say sardonic.
No, Sardonicus. Mr. Sardonicus. It's an old 1960 movie.
This explains why it is that I'm not familiar. How many of you were familiar with the sardonic smile?
The sardonic smile.
I've heard you say that multiple times, and I did not know the reference. But I'll tell you what I am going to do. I'm going to take this here window, slide to that there window,
right here.
and I'm going to launch Facebook. And Pastor Kim is going to tell you something transformational that you need to know.
I'll tell you something you don't probably know this. Mm-mm. We have over 400 women signed up for worship night.
Wow.
Our next women's event tomorrow night. Praise when it's counterintuitive. Our word for the year has been equipped, so we're equipped with praise.
Wow.
We're going to do some singing, we're going to have a message, and we're going to have some campfires with s'mores afterwards. We made 400 packs of little s'mores kits.
Wow, that's a lot of work.
Yeah. But isn't that awesome? Over 400.
Oh, my goodness,
I looked this morning, it was 406.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And
That's exciting.
And registration still open?
Who's bringing the message?
Tracy, our director.
Oh, yeah.
Ministries. Tracy Lucas.
Oh, yeah, bud.
Yeah.
I know the worship leader.
Yeah.
I know her well.
I thought perhaps it was you. I thought you were
Yeah,
allowed
help out a little
to
bit.
be
We
in
directing stuff back there.
Yeah, but I know her. She's good.
I've heard.
Actually, there's a bunch of worship leaders that'll be there. They're all pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Present company exclusive. What's up, Kosi?
Kosi.
How you doing, brother? You're the man. Coolest name in the church.
Yeah.
Stephen Swint. Stephen, you did an awesome job teaching at the co-op the other day. I meant to tell you.
That's what I heard.
You were a rock star, buddy. You were a rock star, and you and your daughter were adorable. So, all right. Thanks for joining us. We have just a few questions, which is good. We're going to hit our short window. That's what we're told. We got to keep it short. I mean, they're not less falderall and more succinct. Queen of Terse is going to help keep us on track.
We also need to announce this on a Sunday soon, and I know we have a million announcements so that we can remind people that, they can send in their questions. I think we've lapsed.
We have. Perhaps.
Well, we've been inconsistent because we've been busy.
Yes.
Yes.
So we apologize for
Hello,
that.
Miss Emily.
And
Hello.
The answer to her question is yes, right?
The answer to her question.
So Emily asked, will it be live streamed, the women's event?
Oh, you want to be there. We may stream it anywhere. It'd be better in person, but
Yeah.
are we allowed to say what's happening after the message?
Yeah.
We are going to take live requests.
I think that was everyone's favorite part last year. So
So you just pick a song and we have to play it for you.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Or we say, no, we're not going to play it.
Oh, that's-
One of the two things will
That's
happen.
fun, man.
I
Yeah,
think
that's
we did
great.
all of them last year.
I think so too.
I don't think there was any that we didn't. Probably one or two. Mark Oliphant, man, you're an awesome guy. He's a good egg. He's also at the homeschool group. Victor was shaking, buddy. Hey, Victor, you free on Friday to help with the women's conference with camera? You do a great job on camera. Love to have you. Shoot me a text. You got my number. Love to have you. I think we're short one camera guy, and you could be the guy that the Lord is sending. Thanks, Pastor Pete. All right. Question, can you hear us okay? Let us know. Even though Pastor Kim is 17 miles from her microphone. Look at her. It's like she's on another planet.
Because I didn't see it.
Pastor, this logo's driving me crazy.
Oh, man, it was bothering me, too.
Turned.
Man, I'm glad you got rid of that thing.
Yes.
I was about.
Gotta get it straight.
It's got to be straight.
All right. We actually have one question.
No tilt, man. It's got
towards Pastor Kim, I think. There it is. Is that it?
I hope so.
There it is.
I could not get my mind.
Mine's a little
focused.
crooked. Pastor
No,
Kim's is
no.
crooked.
No. Is it okay now?
I mean, we've got those hellacious black beams painted behind me. I was talking to the worship choir on Sunday, giving an instruction on something that we do at the beginning of service, and yes, I just reflected on my CDO.
CDO.
Some call it OCD, but CDO.
See, which would I loosen to turn the mic? Because,
Right
now
here.
I really messed it up. This thing right here?
You got to grab the mic, do this and turn that.
We went through this once before, and she dismantled the whole
I
mic.
did, so I better not mess with it. And look, my
Should I
thing
come
fell
over?
off.
Oh, man. Come on.
What a disaster.
He's going to be reaching over now.
She's home with a baby.
I heard that she might be here on Sunday.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, look at the baby.
I heard that she might be here on
Wow.
Sunday. So we'll pray
Awesome.
for you, Faith. We miss you. Love you.
All right, here's the one question we have, and you guys.
Leslie just sits here
Let it go.
in a puddle of tears,
Let us hear this.
looking across her office for Faith, who is not there.
Let us hear this cultish
So
question.
this is interesting.
It is cultish.
Oh yeah, it is a true
It's
question.
absolutely-
Oh yeah,
It's a cult.
because Mark and
South
Courtney,
Korean
a
cult.
lovely young couple in our church. They were shopping, approached by these two women who wanted to invite them to a Bible study, but this study was about God as a mother, and then they claimed that God is a woman, and there's another form of God that is woman. They referenced three main scriptures. They also said they were with a non-denominational church called World Mission Society Church of God, so that would be good. But then they gave three references, and so they would love for you to speak to those three references. But what?
Yeah,
Talk about the first part.
it's a South Korean cult, and it's got a really weird history. They had this guy that kind of started it, who they said is the second coming of Christ. His name is Aung Sanang. I guess I'm pronouncing that correctly. He even refuted some of the teachings that they have now. They went through a split, this cult, and now.
Even cults go through splits.
Oh yeah, even cults, and they're really taking off now. The new leaders, and it's a new Korean guy leading it. They're pushing it. Anyway, it's their teachings are so ridiculous that I don't even see how they're succeeding at all. Other than, I guess people just have such little understanding of the Bible these days. You can get away with anything. But yeah, they just teach all kind of ridiculous things. That there's this Korean woman and she's the mother of God, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
They take the text to talk about the bride of Christ from Revelation.
Okay, so that's Revelation 22 and
Yeah.
Revelation 21.
And of course, it's clearly talking about the church. Paul talks about it in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, I guess it is, or chapter 11, 13, one of those in there. Anyway, so it's just awful. I mean, you know, they take Galatians 4, where it talks about the New Jerusalem being the mother. But again, the New Jerusalem and the church, you know, we know are one and the same. So literally you would have, this is getting a little weird, but you would have the bride of Christ being the mother. So he's marrying his mother. It's just,
It's crazy.
so
Oedipus complex going on there.
it is a cult that builds its teaching around 4 or 5 weird passages that make no sense. They don't give any explanation. They don't follow context at all. I just don't know how they succeed. I really truly
It's one of the
don't.
main definitions of a cult, right? They take a few scriptures, put some kind of application and teaching on them, and then make that their emphasis. That's
And they clearly contradict what we would call core truths that are repeated so redundantly that they can't be missed unless someone is choosing to miss them. So, it's just unfortunately though, it's a cult that's getting some traction amongst college students.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Interesting.
But you can go online and learn about it. There's actually a guy that does a good job on, if you go to YouTube and you look up a guy named Mike Wiggins, I believe his name is, he does a really good job on explaining their cultic roots and that sort of thing. So, but I mean.
What is the definition of a cult? You got me at my gears turning.
Well,
I know that's one of the.
that is tricky because frankly, if you go, for example, to Poland, we are called cults.
I was going to say
cultics, and so, or some places in South America, what we call, Protestants or non-denominational Christ followers, Christians, we would be considered a cult. So a cult, it's a little bit, the way that evangelical Christians have described a cult is a departure from what we call the core doctrines of the faith. The question
Society
becomes, what
calls
are the
it
core doctrines of the faith?
Society calls a cult someone that deviates from society. So if you've drifted from a Judeo-Christian background, then you if your culture drifts from a Judeo-Christian background, then like you said, we're a cult. Every Bible-believing church is a cult.
Yeah, and the views have changed through the years. For example, it used to be like when I was a new Christian, the Seventh-day Adventists were always written in cult books. They were
Kingdom
always
of the
included.
cults.
Yeah, they were included as a cult. Today they're not, because they've kind of given up their position that worshiping on Sunday is the mark of the beast. I mean, that used to be their position. That's their historic position. But that's not where most of them are at today. So defining a cult is tricky, but essentially it is that the core, what we would call the core teachings of the Bible that are so redundant you can't miss them unless you want to, if a group departs from that or puts some kind of a strange twist on the meaning that kind of contradicts the rest of the biblical message, that would be considered a cult. And usually they have certain things like exclusivity. They will in some way say, we got it, no one else gets it, but we got it. And if you want it, you got to come. You got to come to us.
Yeah.
And if you don't come to us, you don't have it.
Yeah.
So on, I think it was Saturday, Friday or Saturday. I think it was Saturday. I was with Ethan. It's a long story, but I was teaching him to drive my car. It's a longer story than we have time for today.
That sounds
but
illegal.
It was on our private property in my car, on our acreage.
Still sounds illegal.
So, and we're sitting there, and our car pulls into up our lane, which our lane is about probably 300 yards to our house from the end of our property, and a car pulls up, and there's two. I would say they were
I bet you they were
JoJo's. They were over the age of 60.
Were they on bicycles?
No, they drove in, but they were over the age of 60.
So they were Jehovah's.
I didn't know if they were delivering a package. They were looking for somebody. If somebody from church happened to find out where I live, I didn't know what it was. But my father-in-law walks over. Jessica's pop happened to be there, and walks over to the car, and the window goes down, and there's 10 seconds of exchange between the two of them, and then the guy looks upset, puts his car in reverse, and drives right back out. And I was like, wow. I'm like, who was that? He's like, Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm like,
they're not as active as they used to be. They used to be really active.
But it was they were. I'm giving them grace.
You're kind of
with
an out of the way place to get to.
I'm out of the way. They were far beyond the age of people that normally do that.
Yeah.
They were. I said 60. They were both addled, gray, very, very old, driving like a Buick LeSabre or something. I mean, an old.
Sounds like my dad.
So it reminded me.
They're working to inherit the
Right.
the earth.
Them virgins.
They've missed the 144,000 places in heaven. That's gone.
Yeah.
They've been taken. But if they work hard, pass the literature faithfully, they might be allowed to inherit the new earth.
And at their age, they didn't have much time left.
Got to get at it, man. You got to get at it.
So I remember, I'll never forget this too. At our house growing up, one time two I'd say 40 and 30 and 40 came to our front door, and my dad, he brought them in.
I used to do that stuff.
Sat him on the couch, got him coffee. I think in 20 minutes they were begging to get out of the door. They were like, "We need more training. We were not prepared for this guy."
Yeah, I used to do that, and then it just got to be so maddening. Yeah, because they don't listen. They're just looking how to respond to whatever you say. So it's pretty futile, really.
Yeah.
Good times.
Hey, so I haven't seen any questions pop in, unless you want to check.
Yeah, you can drop your questions in there. We have I think one more question for Pastor Kim, but drop your questions in.
Well,
Mike Pugh, what's up? Miss Gretchen, what's going on? Bill Offit. Oh, actually, somebody said Stephen Swinton said great message on Sunday.
Thank you.
Absolutely, it's a great message. Bill Offit, feel your pain, Pastor Kim. Mike Training 101. Microphones.
Yeah, see?
Miss Donna, hello, watching from Carroll Valley. Three of the best pastors. Let her finish. Don't cut her off. So I can attend. Do we have groups during the day? There are groups during the day.
Yes. And if you go to fcfchurch.com/groups, you can get our current listing. But on Sunday, we will have the catalog. And yes, there are some daytime groups.
Bless you, Miss Gina. Miss Tabitha has another question. Pastor Kim, why don't you fire your question? I'll read this one.
I was going to just say, sort of update on Israel, where you see things at now, because it's one of those things that falls off the radar after a while, but yet things are still continue. There's no resolution there. So
No, there's
maybe from a prophetic standpoint, anything.
Yeah, I think we're still kind of stuck that this could turn into a much larger war. They've got to settle this thing in the north with Hezbollah, and I just don't know if it's going to calm down or if it's going to escalate. Mm-hmm. Then, of course, it can involve Iran. It's definitely not the Ezekiel 38 thing. Mm-hmm. That's going to involve Turkey with Iran, as well as some other nations, Islamic nations. So it just looks to me like, again, we might be watching a precursor. There's going to be, a lot of turbulence that might then set the nations where they're ready for, the bigger war that Ezekiel 38:39 talks about. There is a question: is Psalm 83 a yet future war? In which case, that does involve the nations that border Israel, and we could be looking at that. So it's one of those things. All we can do is just kind of sit back and watch, but we really need to watch because it could change overnight. It's a very volatile situation. In fact, the world right now, we don't necessarily feel it, but we are in the most dangerous time since the Cuban Missile Crisis. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I remember the Cuban Missile Crisis as a kid, man. I was very aware that we could be nuked in our sleep because they taught us in those days. We went through the drills and hid
under the desk.
Right.
Those sirens, they would run those things, and that noise would terrify me. I would have nightmares about it as a kid. So it's no sense in thinking about what a dangerous time it is, but it is a very dangerous time.
Yeah. Not Miss Carmen. Someone else. Hi, Miss Carmen. How are you, dear? Someone else posted. Oh man, there's a whole bunch coming in here. Tabitha Pake says, hello, I had a question. Back when I was residing in Maryland, I took an apologetics class, trying to make this bigger, and my mouse is not there. It is. That Pastor Rainey taught. After moving so many times, I lost the binder information. Is there anywhere I can purchase and find that information again?
Yeah, there you go.
I can email a PDF version of it to you. So email me at kimk, K-I-M-K, at FCFchurch.com. You want to drop that in, Leslie? And just email me, and I can email you a copy of the material. Just which one? I'm assuming it's the Why We Believe.
Yeah, I'm sure that
series. Yeah, apologetic series.
Miss Paola, you're awesome. We're glad you were able to join us, and thanks for serving in marriage ministries. You're a blessing. Miss Emily asks, how often does FCF Church do communion? About every 6 to 8 weeks, depending.
Yeah, about that.
We just did it on Sunday.
Yeah,
we did.
Were you here on Sunday, Miss Emily? I don't. Yeah.
I'm going to ask a natural follow-up question. Some may be wondering why. Why do we choose the? The frequency can be so different among churches.
Mm-hmm.
We chose that because the feeling that I've always had through the years is if you do it too often, it loses its significance. Mm-hmm. And so we just kind of randomly thought, well, once a month, let's do it every 6 weeks.
Yeah, and we look at our schedule too in terms of what Sunday. If we've got a lot going, you don't want to put communion in there; it gets lost and it makes service wrong.
Have significance.
But I think the main thing is there's no set thing that Scripture says you must do it this often.
No, we're told to do it, but it doesn't have a cycle, or a time element to it at all.
Well, I think that's the danger too. The biggest danger is that it does become ritualistic and not significant.
And it just becomes white noise. Nobody can emote to it to the degree that I think it deserves to be emoted to. I think it is meant to be an experiential thing when it's done. And if you do it just every single Sunday, which a lot of churches do, you lose that. You can't. Yeah, you can't.
Not enough emoting.
Not enough emoting. No, man. You can't. You got to emote.
Every once in a while, you hassle me for using a word. And so I feel like if I don't at least throw one back at you, in respect, though, you're my guy.
I think it also can be a superstitious thing, too. Like we have to do this each week to get our sins forgiven or something. People start attaching all these other
Let's talk about, why don't you talk about that a little bit? That's a big deal, because there's people that grew up in a tradition in which that was the case, or even a tradition in which the sacraments were what gave you access to salvation, which is not what the Bible teaches and not what we teach.
No, there's two teachings that are kind of popular, and neither of which are accurate. That would be certainly one, that partaking of the Eucharist is a part of your salvation, and you're not necessarily in a good standing with God unless you're partaking of the Eucharist. In fact, at death, they'll try to serve you a quick dose,
a little wafer,
just in case.
Yeah, right. There are others that kind of have a hyper sense of losing your salvation, so that every time you take communion, you're assured once again that you're saved.
Back in good standing.
Yeah.
I'm back.
And again, these are not things taught in Scripture either, but some churches will emphasize that you can lose your salvation so frequently that people are afraid they'll lose their salvation.
Right. Well, I'm not even opposed to somebody serving communion at bedside at the end of somebody's life if they understand Eucharist. Meaning you is good, charis is gift. Mm-hmm. So it is a gift. The gift in it is that you're reflecting on the sacrifice that Christ made, and also the fact that we get to be with Him again. Mm-hmm. Like that is until He comes again. He is coming again. That is the gift of, or part of the gift of reflecting on the sacrifice. So if you understand that this life is temporal, all that we live for is in the future. But I don't hate that at bedside. But if the thought process is this is forgiving your sins, they get you in heaven. That's where you're like,
right.
Yeah.
Superstitious.
The other prevalent teaching about it is that it somehow mystically imparts some sort of grace, and so something is infused in your soul, some kind of inspiration or spiritual strengthening occurs. And this, of course, is just nonsensical. It shows a complete misunderstanding of the way God's built us, spirit, soul, and how they function. But it is prevalently taught. And listen, the bottom line is, when it comes to God, people are superstitious. Mm-hmm. We don't understand. We should understand Him. He has pulled the curtains back. He's done everything that He can to make Himself known. Nevertheless, many people feel like He is impossible to understand. Therefore, there is this superstitious interactive approach with Him, and that's where things like communion, you better take a thing. I don't know how it works, but somehow it builds you up spiritually when you take that wafer and that little bit of juice. Juice tasted funny Sunday.
I'll tell you what. I popped that. First of all, in first service,
good, was it?
They wrapped my thing. It was all. I picked the napkin up, and bless you, the lady that does it is amazing. She's a gift. And then I didn't use the Temple of Doom chalice. I used a different cup because I picked up the first time and I'm like, man, what am I doing right now? But I picked up the napkin. Did you see what happened?
I hope no.
I saw you looking.
I picked it up and they had wrapped it.
Oh, that happened to me. It went flying.
It went flying. I was like, oh.
It did the same thing to me. Yes, one Sunday.
I thought I was just going to uncover it, which is what I do. It was.
Yeah.
Now, depending on your view, that could really be serious.
That's what I was going to say. If there was someone that was raised where they believe in transubstantiation, that becomes like I just dropped God.
Somebody catch Jesus. He's flying through the air.
So, but then I popped it. It wasn't as bad. And I think I was just.
Of course, they don't seem to be troubled by cannibalizing Jesus.
In second service, I popped the wafer in my mouth. It was like a little Jeez-It kind of thing. I don't know what they had, but it sucked every ounce of saliva. And I think I was dehydrated already for second service at long.
So I don't know if I got a bad juice container or what, but man, it was like close to vinegary tasting.
Tastes like pure gasoline.
It was not good. Not good. No, it was a real test of faith.
It was religious persecution. But Jessica noticed, she's like, you were struggling, weren't you? I said, I couldn't, I had to talk again. I was only halfway through, but
when something dries your throat over again, that's such an uncomfortable feeling.
I wanted you to take the drink and take it, whoo, and then continue.
Big gulp.
I knew I couldn't. Oh, I guess. All right.
That's one thing I do like. When you get that glass of juice, you get to take a good big gulp. That little thimble they give you, particularly if it's as bad tasting as the thimble that I had Sunday. Rough going. So
I went to Mass with Italian. All Italians are Catholic at least once. So we went to Mass and they did the body and blood of Christ, and you'd put your hand out there, you put it in your hand, or you could do
you put your tongue.
And you drop that sucker on your tongue.
Yeah.
I was hand.
Which, man, I'm wanting a rubber glove or something.
No. It gets worse. You don't know this?
Oh, they drink out of the same one, right?
So then I do that.
The cup. And I thought you'd never got a taste of the cup.
Oh no, she says the blood of Christ. And I watched
Well, I know the priest gets it, but I didn't think anybody else.
No, everybody drinks
Everybody
it. So
gets
they,
it.
And then they
got like a little
They have a little towel.
a little towel over the edge of it, and so he's like, it's like the body of Christ, and the person's like, actually their tongue hit the bottom of it, and then he goes, and then hands it to me, and I'm like, I look back at like my family behind me, I'm like, oh no, and some of you know, I can be a bit particular.
A little bit.
Our Swiss friends call me
Little bit.
verschaist, which means like picky in Swiss
But
German.
you know, it's kind of funny. Like when we all hung out at the rec centers and on playgrounds and stuff, man, we would drink after one another like,
for sure.
it was nothing.
Yeah.
And we just never thought about it, you know.
And when
course,
somebody gets sick, we all get sick.
Yeah.
The germs weren't as potent then as they are today, perhaps.
The gene pool has gotten a little more diluted.
Yeah, I think we're a little more
Do we
vulnerable.
get any more questions?
I drank it, by the way. If you were, I know you were curious, and it tasted
Question.
terrible. It was it's alcohol too. I think
The
that
real wine. Yeah.
Well,
Catholic Church is all alcohol.
yeah, I remember I went to a Lutheran church and took communion, and I was like, oh, this is the real thing.
Yeah. Watching PA with the kids, do homeschooling. Yeah, Miss Carmen, you're awesome. Tell them we said hi. Can make a CD of worship songs we can purchase. We are working with an artist coming in from a writer, producer from out of state coming in to work with our team, which I have said, I think I just spilled the beans on that. Was I allowed to spill the beans on that? But to do some recording.
Doesn't matter to me.
But all the services are actually on all the services are actually on YouTube. The worship clips are there.
Yeah.
I think Pastor Kim and Dylan and Miss Leslie set that up. Or publish a one. Yeah, Mark, you want us to? You guys are awesome. Miss Kate, what are your dreams for FCF Growth? Oh, don't get us started.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that.
I know you answered it years and years ago.
Go ahead.
You said 1 in 20, and at that time, Frederick
Well,
was around 200,000. So you said a church of 20,000.
Yeah, I
Years
think
ago.
I think what I used to think in terms of is a 10%. You know, 10% of your population is not ridiculous. I think as far as your potential, any given church, whether you reach it or not, you know, we'll see.
It is for continued growth. It is
Yeah.
for expansion.
That's the thing. It's to continue to reach and teach all that God sees fit for us to reach and teach, and we're not going to do anything to hinder it. That's the key.
Right.
We're going to do anything and everything we have to do
To grow.
allow it to continue.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Like
we
put a balcony
we
in?
are an outreach-oriented church from the day we started 32 years ago. Always will be until Jesus returns.
Come on.
So,
Yeah.
Great question. We will continue to grow by the grace of God.
But if you mean like, you know, planting other campuses, you know, satellite sites and things like that, we don't have any plans like that. I'm a little weird on that whole thing. I'd rather plant another church with a whole different pastor, you know, or pastoral team than, you know, pump me in by satellite to some other place. I don't particularly think that's a great system, even though it's done and done well. But
Yes, I was. You missed it. That's an interesting question. Do we make sure that there's communion in the wiggle rooms that are accessible?
Well, we should. Just
we
have a little
should.
basket.
Miss
Don't
Emily
know
will
the
work
answer
on
to
that.
that.
We'll talk to operations and see if we can make that happen. What's up, E-Rock? Oh, somebody dropped the worship video in there. Watching on our 41st. Happy anniversary, B.
They say Nephilim.
Nephilim.
Nephilim. Woo, Nephilim.
how about that?
How about that? That's a classic Pastor Randy.
Yes.
How about that?
About that.
For want of a better term. That's a Pastor Randy. It's a
Amy says they did taste like vinegar this past week. She agrees on the communion juice.
About the vinegar?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely
Sheila Burrier. I'm not sure what you're laughing at,
the
but I like
best
No.
grape juice.
They dip the wafer instead. Yeah, that's the other thing. You dip the wafer into the juice. I've seen that done a lot too.
Dip the wafer instead. Yes. Oh, you're talking about in Catholic Church. Yes. I was at a church. I think it was a Presbyterian church. We were ministering at with my father, and they had the trays that you pass down. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yes, we used to do that.
Very, very ornate looking
The little
communion frisbees.
Yeah.
And you filled them. You ever see how they fill them?
Oh well, you have a little squeeze.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, little squeezy. Because I remember the first time I saw that, I thought, can you imagine trying to fill those things with a big old thing of Welch's?
Oh yeah.
What
That would not work.
this church did is in the center was wine, and on the outside was grape juice.
Oh, interesting.
Oh.
And one of the Teen Challenge guys, who was a recovering
Oh
alcoholic,
no, he got the wine.
he got the wine. That's the guy that my dad. They called my dad, and he
Oh,
came in.
yes.
Wow.
And the guy was standing on. He went to his host home that night. They happened to have a wet bar, and they called my dad. And this recovering addict was standing on the wet bar, clothless,
Yeah.
with his Bible,
Naked as a jaybird.
teaching from the Bible.
Wow.
Terrible.
I bet you that was memorable.
Who would be the singer? Well, I mean, I've heard the story from my dad. Who would be the singer for what? Mr. Franklin, who is a awesome individual, and the father of one of my friends. Great message past Sunday, Pastor Kim.
Yes.
There's actual communion wafer distribution that looks just like Pez candy. Pez candy thing. Kink, kink. I love it. All right. Yeah. Any more questions? We got about 30 more seconds, and then we're going to talk to you about what's coming up because we hit our 30-minute mark, and we are trying to be succinct. I think that I'm going to hit. Who's going to hit the camera this time?
Well, I hit it.
Right?
It is a new message series.
It is a great message. I actually think Turning Points was fantastic.
Yeah.
But I think this is going to be a banger too.
I hope so. I hope it won't be a blowout.
Flop. Pastor Kim and I were talking earlier. I forget what led us to the conversation, but it was somebody that was. It was someone that was. One of the hardest parts of pastoral ministry is watching people choose to live outside of God's will, and then the repercussions of doing that, how that plays out. And then I said something to the effect of, whenever has God's instruction for us and how to live this life not led us to our highest good? I said, take your time. I'll wait. Because there is no, it's always,
Right.
and that's part of it. That's in there. That's in the do you want to be happy?
Oh, absolutely.
It's folded.
Yeah, I don't want to give too much away with this series. I mean, the series is called, I Just Want to Be Happy, which sounds kind of trite and shallow, but hopefully it will be surprising in a good way.
Okay. Victor said, I think I was probably the one you heard share it too. I've been watching FCF for 3 years. Victor's one of our camera guys. Only once the explanation of what the chevrons means. Can you explain it more often? And I see FCF all around the church, but what does it mean? Frederick, FCF stands for?
Frederick Christian Fellowship Church. Yeah, it's a long title for a church, but when we came up with it, actually, it was a guy named Gary Byers, pastor, a friend of mine, that came up with it. He and I together, but I think it was his origination. It just seemed really good, but now it's way too long. Hence, we call it FCF Church.
Shortened it. Yeah. And the chevrons there's 2 of them, and everything we do points towards Christ, points up, and you shouldn't go by yourself. You should be taking somebody with you.
And it's also like the idea of reaching your potential, because our mission statement is helping people reach their full redemptive potential. So there's this upward movement of reaching your potential and helping others as well.
Come on now. Let her finish. Don't cut her off.
Dun, dun.
Turning Points was amazing and timely.
break.
That it was.
Yes.
Let her
Well,
finish.
thank you.
Quiet down now.
Thank you.
Just take it in. Does it make you uncomfortable?
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
You ever been on stage and someone starts talking about you and you just feel like you want to die?
Yeah, well, not die, but just a little uncomfortable.
Or maybe you're in the front row and your associate pastor's talking about how much he loves you and you're just sitting there and then they put a camera in your face.
Yeah.
And the one single solitary tear rolls down your cheek.
That's a tough one, yeah.
We love you too, Miss Anna. Go
The
ahead.
series, we didn't actually, it's called
It's called I Just Want to Be Happy. And I will say a little bit. It is not uncommon for we as human beings or to hear other human beings say things like, man, I don't expect it all. I don't want to be a millionaire, billionaire. I just want to be happy. And it's usually presented as like, look, I am not asking for much. I just want to be happy, and I want to talk about there's an awful lot that's hidden in that statement, and I hope I'll be able to bring that out in a way that will be beneficial to everybody there. So
You will.
I hope.
Correct.
Hope.
Awesome.
Hope. Shall I?
Go ahead.
Yeah. He nailed it last time.
Oh, you're a little low. I'm still a
That
good
was
shot.
pretty
Let's see.
Oh.
good.
You hit the center of the stand. Now we're waiting for the camera itself, aren't we?
Well, I was heading for the lens.
The lens?
I was trying to hit the lens.
Well, he hit the tripod, didn't he?
It might have been the bottom of the lens.
I don't know.
Oh, you think so? All right.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't hit the lens, but
Oh, you see.
I
but that's
hit
what
that
I was
lens.
aiming at. I actually aim at the lens.
Me too. That's the best shot.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can. That's too high. Oh, I overshot it.
So I think I'm the man.
Yeah, I think you. Yeah, you won
nailed
today.
it.
Yeah,
you won today.
Yeah.
All right. We
Yeah.
love you. 9:15, 11:15. It's going to be a great time. Pastor Rainey is going to crush it like always. And you know.
No, I don't. I don't.
Part of it.
Really high.
My voice. I don't know why I'm talking all squeaky like this. the reason that we are your church body and your staff and your team, your executive team, is so complimentary of you is because you're gifted. Scripture says to give honor to whom honors due, and we love you. We want to be a culture of honor. So as uncomfortable as it is for you, it's good for us to
I
do
deeply
it.
appreciate it. I really do.
We love you. And then it's not platitudes. It's real. I gotta make up for what I did last time.
I'm going to quit while I'm ahead.
Yeah.
You got to know.
Oh,
You got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them.
All right, 9:15, 11:15. Yes, and make sure if you've not registered, register for the women's worship night. It's going to be
Going out.
incredible. It's going to be
got a
awesome.
little curve to it.
It's a curveball.
No, just murk that. All right. Are you trying to do side angle? All right, we love you.